Welcome to the Word for Life podcast, a daily devotional covering the entire Bible from Genesis to Revelation.
In Genesis chapter 18 and 19, three men come to the tent of Abraham. One of them, Abraham says, is the Lord, and the other two are angels. So when these three men come to Abraham's tent, this is what verse 2 says. Abraham looked up and saw three men standing nearby. When he saw them, he hurried from the entrance of his tent to meet them and bowed low to the ground. In that culture, an elderly, wealthy man would never run to greet his visitors, or he would never bow down to the ground. But Abraham did that. That shows that Abraham showed exceptional hospitality. Not only that, verse 6 to 8, it says, Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah. Quick, he said, get 3 seahs of the finest flour and knead it and bake some bread. Then, verse 7, he ran to the herd and selected a choice, tender calf and gave it to a servant who hurried to prepare it. Verse 8, he then brought some curds and milk and the calf that had been prepared and set these before them. While they ate, notice this, Abraham stood near them under a tree. Abraham has set an example for all of us in hospitality. Hebrews 13:2 picks up this action of Abraham and tells us, do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by doing so, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it. Dear friends, Abraham is an example for all of us who are already blessed. In spite of our high status and comfort, we must care for those who need some help. But why did God come to meet Abraham? You see, the Lord had a message for him. The message was, Sarah will have a son. The Lord said, next year, about this time, she will have a son. But when the Lord told this, Sarah laughed. Now let's be fair to Sarah. We all can agree that Sarah was actually realistic. She was very old already and past the age of childbearing. In her own words, she was worn out and Abraham was old. There is a message here for us. God chose an old, worn out woman to display his glory to a world that has rejected him and does not know him or his glory. My friends, this is the wisdom of God. In 1 Corinthians 1:27 to 31, the Bible tells us that God intentionally chooses the foolish, the weak, the lowly things, the despised things, the people who cannot do anything. Why? So that no human person will be able to boast before God. So even we today can only boast about the Lord when we read the story of Sarah and Abraham. My friends, it's easy for us to boast about our little strength. It is easy to think we have done things all by ourselves. But a Christian believer knows and acknowledges the strength of God. A Christian believer always magnifies God's strength, not his strength. So it is better to laugh at ourselves and our weaknesses like Sarah than live in pride, thinking that we have made it on our own. The next information God wanted to share with Abraham was he was going to visit Sodom and Gomorrah. Abraham makes another exceptional move. Now he pleads for Sodom, probably because he's concerned about his nephew Lot. But if he had just wanted to save Lot and his family, then we need to ask this question, why did Abraham stop with this? Let me read 18th chapter, verse 32. Then Abraham said, may the Lord not be angry, But let me speak just once more. What if only 10 can be found there? You see, if Abraham was simply interceding for his nephew Lot, then he should have asked for, how about 4 people? So the point is, Abraham was actually interceding not just for Lot, but for the nation of Sodom. So the point is, Abraham was not just interceding for Lot, but for the city of Sodom. Abraham is now acting as the father of nations who will bring blessing to other nations. Dear friends, for us as Christian believers, much like Abraham, there is no Gentile or Jew, Greek or Roman, no Indian or Pakistani, Chinese or Bangladeshi. Everyone for us is made in the image of God. So Christian believers intercede for all nations equally. In fact, a Christian sees humans just as God sees humans. That is why in Galatians chapter 3, verse 28 and 29, we read, "There is neither Jew nor Gentile, neither slave nor free, nor is there male or female, for all of you are one in Christ Jesus. If you belong to Christ, then you are Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise." My friends, the only criteria for a Christian today is that other person wholeheartedly following Christ. That is the only criteria. You see, the world has mastered the art of divisions, but Christ has brought all kinds of people into his one body. Therefore, all of us believers are part of the same body of that one Christ. And so we celebrate not our differences, but we celebrate our oneness in Christ Jesus.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow for the next episode of the Word for Life podcast.